Hello, this is Podcasting in 3 Easy Steps with me, Juliana.
And me, Suzi. We've spent years creating award-winning podcasts, and now we want to share what we've learned with you to help you get your podcast out of your head and into the ears of your audience.
In each short episode, we'll give you 3 simple steps to create and market an awesome podcast that your listeners will enjoy.
We're passionate about podcasting and the power it has to connect with your clients and community and transform your business. Hi, it's Suzi here, and today I'm here to help you understand the podcast hosting platforms in 3 easy steps. Okay, so we've got our lovely polished podcast. It's speaking to your audience, it's recorded and edited beautifully. And now what? So now we need to reach our audience so they can listen to it, of course. So they find it through a podcast directory, for instance, Apple Podcasts, Spotify and Google Podcasts, which currently are the most popular places where people find their podcasts. But to get there, they need to go via a hosting platform. So here is understanding the hosting platform in 3 easy steps. I like to explain it like a delivery service, taking your podcast, i.e. the package, and delivering it to a directory, i.e. the postbox, where your audience then goes and collects it. So step 1, hosting platforms can be free or you can pay a subscription to use the service. They all work in a similar way, and that is to hold your podcast on the internet or host it. It will then get sent out to the podcast directories using an RSS feed created by the platform. Step 2. I mentioned the podcast hosting platform generates an RSS feed, which is a small piece of code that then gets sent to the podcast directory. This holds all your information about your podcast. It will update the directories whenever you update your show, but be warned, sometimes there can be a delay. I've scheduled podcasts before and then I'm still refreshing the page to see when it updates. Sometimes it's taken even 30 minutes to reach the podcast directories. Step 3. If you choose to pay to use a hosting platform such as Audioboom or Acast, for example, then you will get additional extras. This could be more analytics and data about your audience, and that will eventually make finding sponsorship or creating adverts easier down the line. It could help you partner with people easier too, because you'll know more about your audience. On some hosting platforms, you can create your audiograms, which are those little shareable pieces of content you can share on your social media to promote your podcast. And in some, you can edit your podcast directly. On Anchor, for instance, which is a free podcast hosting site, you can record, edit, and send out your podcast directly from there. The other thing is some of the paid for podcast hosting sites make placing your podcast in the directories automated. So applying to those sites such as Stitcher, Amazon, for instance, can take up a bit of time, and the paid for services streamline the process somewhat. So to sum up, on hosting platforms, they all do a similar job of holding and distributing your podcast via an RSS feed. It just depends on whether you want to pay for the service or not and how interested you are in the extras, such as more detailed analytics. I've used Audioboom for a number of people I work with no issues at all. I find it intuitive and quite easy to use. Equally, this podcast is hosted on Anchor, which I found works for us. By the way, you can always swap and move your podcast from a hosting platform further down the line. The sites make it quite an easy process, and you're not committed for life on whichever one you choose now. Hope this has helped you to make sense of the hosting platforms and why we need them. Please hit subscribe, give us a 5-star rating, and please, can I ask you to do one thing? Leave us a review. It really helps other people to find us. Thanks for listening. Bye.